My fiancé ended our engagement over my irrational concerns. I learned I was right all along. Finding love can be a journey filled with ups and downs, but what happens when the person you thought would be your forever turns out to be someone you barely recognize? This realization hit me hard over the last few months as I navigated the aftermath of my engagement with my fiancée, who I'll call Sarah. Our relationship, which once felt like a fairy tale, spiraled into confusion and heartbreak. From the start, our bond was strong. Sarah and I met shortly after she had left an abusive relationship that left deep scars. The trauma she endured was immense. She had faced unspeakable horrors, including a traumatic experience while trying to move out from her ex. Thankfully, he is now in prison, but the effects of that relationship lingered. I was her safe space, and our love blossomed over 2.5 beautiful years. We made the decision to move in together, and I quickly embraced not only her, but also her son, as my own. The first year together was blissful. We celebrated our anniversary with a promise. I told her that if we were still together by the next year, I would propose. Sure enough, when that year rolled around, I kept my word, and she happily accepted. I was thrilled to encourage her to finish her bachelor's degree, believing that her success would lead us to marriage without hindering her financial aid. I truly wanted the best for her. However, as is often the case, our perfect world began to unravel. Sarah started to talk about a male classmate from her school. Initially, it was harmless, just a casual mention since we shared the same name. I thought it was great that she was making friends, especially considering how difficult it had been for her to trust people after her past experiences. But as the semester progressed, my heart began to sink. The conversations about this male friend became more frequent, and soon it felt like he was the only topic on her lips. The pivotal moment came when she announced a required field trip where she would be driving him and a few others. Something inside me twisted with unease. When she returned from the trip, she was beaming, not just relieved to be home, but almost euphoric. She handed me a plush toy she claimed to have bought during the trip, and my heart raced with worry. I couldn't help but ask her if there were any feelings developing between her and this friend. Her response was reassuring. She insisted he was just a friend, and emphasized that she was only attracted to masculine guys like me. My worries momentarily eased, but that relief was short-lived. As the next semester began, things took a turn for the worse. Sarah had downloaded Snapchat, something she had never had before, and her number one contact was, of course, this male friend. I felt a knot of dread tightening in my chest. She claimed it was just for the filters, but I was beginning to sense something deeper. Soon, she began to change her style, sending him pictures that she never sent to me. My instincts screamed at me, but I tried to suppress my worries. I wanted to trust her. The tipping point came when she invited him to our home, and I felt my stomach drop as he joined us for our son's birthday party. I was occupied with cooking and mingling with her family, while she and this guy chatted animatedly. I knew I shouldn't feel jealous, but the more I saw them together, the more my heart sank. And despite my insistence on being home by a reasonable hour, she came home later than usual, often discussing her daily lunches with him. They exchanged flirty texts, and while we still had a good love life, I noticed her desire to be intimate waning. My anxiety escalated. I tried working out, hoping to relieve the stress, but it was like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in it. I felt powerless as the walls of our relationship started to close in around me. The breaking point came when I caught a glimpse of what I thought were hearts on her phone. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off and changed the subject, leaving me feeling more confused than ever. Then, one day she sat me down and with tears in her eyes said, "I'm thinking about calling it." My world shattered in that moment. I left for the weekend to stay with family, but when I returned, she gave me a half-hearted farewell and rushed out to pick up her son. The next few weeks were a blur of pain and confusion as I tried to understand what had gone wrong. I felt abandoned and betrayed, especially as I watched her male friend help her pack her things while I was left to sleep on the couch. After she moved out, we spoke only about our dog, which was painful for me. I felt myself slipping away, and slowly, I decided to cut all contact. Fast forward 4 months later, and I learned that Sarah was in a new relationship with her male friend. It was a punch to the gut, but honestly, I wasn't surprised. I had seen it coming, and while I didn't feel jealousy toward him, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. It was a strange mixture of sadness and pity that washed over me. I realized that while I had been invested in our relationship, she had deflected her past trauma onto me and our relationship. Now, as I look to the future, I'm left scarred and wary. I've found a new job, moved into a new place, and am focusing on my health and fitness. I want to date again, but the thought of trusting someone new fills me with anxiety. I fear that any time a potential partner has a male friend, I'll see red flags everywhere. My experience with Sarah opened my eyes to the complexities of relationships, and while I've learned what to look for in the future, I also know that healing takes time. I've scheduled therapy to help me work through these feelings, and I'm determined to rebuild my confidence. But for now, the dating market seems bleak, and I can only hope that in time, I'll be ready to open my heart again.